Hey, 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 have you heard? The new FICO 10 score has dropped, and I have gotten so many questions about it that I decided to make this Credit Makes Sense segment all about the new FICO 10 score. Stay tuned. Hey, 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 welcome to Credit Makes Sense with Nativa, the Frugal Creditista, where we talk about money, credit, and everything in between. Super excited to be here with you guys today. If you notice, the background has changed. So yes, your girl has moved again. That is another video for another time. Today, we are breaking down the FICO 10 scoring model. Some of you guys are panicking, have all types of conspiracy theories with FICO and the credit bureau. So let's make sense of that today. If you don't know me, I am again Nativa, the Frugal Creditista. I own the financial education services firm, M&H Financial Services. We help repair, restore, rebuild, and transform your credit scores. I also run the amazing bomb.com DIY credit and wealth building school, Credit on Fire Academy, where we help you and teach you how to master your money, destroy your debt, soar your credit scores so you can begin leveraging it to create wealth. And I also run the epic free Facebook community, Credit Makes Sense, where we talk about all things credit, financing, home ownership, and more. Left the links for all of that for you below so that you can rock out with us. So let's get to it. I'm popping up your questions as I always do, because once I get to talking, I can forget some things, and then you start making all these comments under my videos. So we're gonna dispel all that today because I'm bringing it up. So if you've been rocking with me for a while, then I announced that FICO 10 was coming out, and Vantage actually has a version 4 out. I haven't seen it on Credit Karma, but just to let you know that they often will bring out a new version. So I mentioned this, that FICO 10 was coming in 2018, and here it is. So there's no need for you to panic about anything about the score. I'm sure you've heard tales that scores will plummet all throughout the media. And so many of you have asked me, what does this mean if I'm in the middle of a home loan, if I'm in the middle of the home buying process? So what does this mean if I'm rebuilding my scores using the older models? Have I just been wasting my time? Will I start from scratch? They said that my points are going to drop significantly. What is going on, Nativa? So you're not my prosperity partners. We're going to break it down, make sense of it, and let's get going. As most of you know, FICO has been around since the late 1980s. So you're talking over 3 decades. And their sole purpose is literally to help lenders to make more informed or better lending decisions. So over the past 30 years, our economy has changed big time. Lending practices have changed. More laws have come into place, consumer laws, banking laws, etc. Consumer habits have changed. We've piled on more debt. Our credit behaviors have changed. So much has changed since the 1980s, and naturally that a company whose sole business is based on providing a credit scoring method to analyze consumer behaviors and data would change too. I mean, if they want to keep the #1 spot, then they have to keep up, or someone's going to come in and do what? Take that spot. So you'll find every 4 years or so that a new version of FICO will come up. Before FICO 10, there were 65 versions of FICO, with about maybe 16 of them that were or are being used in the marketplace today. And now with FICO 10 coming in, I can guarantee you that there's going to be like over 70. Now remember, how many FICO versions or scoring versions are out there versus how many are used in the marketplace is a wide variance. So I wouldn't let that concern you. And I did get the question that you've established your FICO score. So what next? So let me just mention this to you. So we've established why FICO update their FICO scoring model like every 4 years or so, right? If you remember, FICO 9 came out in 2014. I knew about the new FICO 10 version in 2018. Now FICO 10 is here. What does that mean for you? So just because a new version of FICO has come out does not mean that lenders will begin using it right away. How long did it take lenders to utilize FICO 9? I mean, let's be real, a lot of them are not using it now. You might find some companies that are providing a free FICO 9 score, but as far as how many are actually using FICO 9 in their lending decisions, not many. So just because a new version of FICO comes out, that doesn't mean that all the companies are going to jump on, start using this new version, throw you off, hinder your ability to get your home loan that you're in the process of getting or are looking to getting, hinder your credit repair efforts or credit building efforts, or even your efforts in paying down your debt. So none of that has changed. It's just that a new version is available and lenders have the option of integrating it into their underwriting system. So hopefully that question was asked. If you have any further, if I didn't expand on it, just ask questions below and I'll address it again. Yes, so the other question, FICO 9 is still the most popular scoring model out there that's used today for auto loans, personal loans, etc. And just remember that in a mortgage industry, they're not using FICO 8. They're still using the super old version and stricter version of FICO 2, 4, and 5. So even there, though there's been FICO 8, there's been FICO 9, the mortgage industry is still like, we're rocking with this older, stricter version until something better comes along. And if it's FICO 10, we will get plenty of leeway because lenders have to get that notification. They have to be notified. They have to update in their system. They have to get trained on it. So we're going to have enough leeway if they do adopt this new FICO scoring model to be able to prepare and educate ourselves. And I got you. I'm going to come in and I'm going to teach you about that as well. But as of right now, everything remains the same. Okay, this new version has just been released. It's available for lenders to be able to integrate it. And FICO said that they've made it easier for them to be able to integrate it, but not too many lenders like to be the first to jump on the bandwagon. I've noticed that even when FICO 8 came out, which was in 2009, lenders didn't like rush to get it. They kind of didn't want to be the first ones to adopt it. They wanted to see who was going to get on it, what was the feedback. They maybe tested a small pool of clients with it to see how they were able to tweak it to align with their current underwriting processes and systems. So there's a lot that goes into just adopting a new scoring model or a new software. If you're in corporate America and you've been through a transition where your company was switching over softwares or systems, you know how that can be. It's time consuming, it's expensive, especially when you consider the trainings and having to recustomize everything to fit your business needs and model. And if you're an entrepreneur and you've ever had to make a simple change of CRMs, I'll never forget when I went from the free version of MailChimp to the paid version of Aweber, and then from Aweber to ConvertKit, and then ConvertKit to Infusionsoft. Oh my God, it was a freaking nightmare. So the same is the case when a new software or a new version of FICO comes out. It may be easier to adopt, or FICO might have made it easier for them to adapt this new version into their underwriting systems, but because the foundation of a lot of major lenders is built on the older versions of FICO, them adopting and integrating into their system is not like something that's like overnight. It may be easier, but it's not easy, okay? Now, if you've been rocking with me for a while, know that FICO was created for the lender. It was never created for the consumer. So it always amazes me when my prosperity partners get so worked up when a new FICO version comes out. The FICO company, the entire business infrastructure, the purpose of FICO was never for us as consumers. I guess indirectly we benefit, but it's really to help lenders make more informed or better lending decisions, make more loans to individuals who will not default, who will not fall behind, who will not have a write-off, who will not get it charged off, who you don't have to bring in collections in order to get their money, who pay on time, and where they can get their money via interest. Okay, and so that's what FICO does. It allows them to get a snapshot of all that credit data and then minimize it to that 3-digit number. That's it. So they're going to keep on making new versions. I don't want you to panic because the very foundation, I guess how FICO is calculated is not going to change. And if you're inside of my DIY Credit and Wealth Building School, Credit on Fire Academy, I am going to update this information in your class, FICO on Fire. And just so you guys know, FICO on Fire is where I literally break down every version of FICO, the difference, things you may want to look out for based on what you are trying to obtain. For instance, if you're rebuilding, you know you're going to need credit cards, focus on this, this, and this. If you are buying a home, focus on this, this, and this. If you're purchasing a car, focus on this, this, and this. So I will upload the summary for FICO 10 for you guys, just so you'll have it. I will say that not even the bureaus are going to adopt this until the summer, to the end of the year. And as they adopt it, you may start seeing some companies start to integrate it. Usually it's the smaller companies start to integrate in their systems, and the companies that give the free scores. So you may start seeing that be updated as you did when the FICO 9 score came out. Maybe that's confusing, just post below and I'll clear it up. I'll make sense of some things for you. Now, one of our prosperity partners asked how FICO 10 is different. So let me break that down. So this version was in response to the increase of debt that we as consumers are holding. It's also indirectly a response to the data that's no longer on our credit reports. We're talking judgments, collections, tax lien, I said judgments, collections, tax liens, judgments, etc. So basically the only thing on our credit reports as far as public records that's available now is bankruptcies. Everything else was kind of tossed. FICO 9 introduced paid collections and medical collections, not affecting or impacting our scores as much. So this one is in response to the demand from lenders to pinpoint people or individuals, consumers, who are carrying on consumer debt in a different way. So let me expand on that. Personal loans are scored more heavily. Personal loans have always been viewed as more risky because they're unsecured, unlike mortgages and maybe our car loans, but they're even more riskier than student loans as well. And so this is going to be in response to lenders who are seeing consumers rank up credit card debt, get a personal loan, and then once they start having that personal loan, they also start to increase their personal credit card debt again. So they're kind of seeing a cycle of, okay, increase the credit card debt, get a personal loan, spend on a credit card again. And then what happens if you have the personal loans, the credit cards, and then you get a personal loan again and then start spending on the credit cards again? Eventually the debt load is going to be too much for you. And that's when you're going to start missing payments. That's when you're going to start seeing the charge-offs. That's when you're going to start seeing the collections. And so because they've started to see this trend, FICO has produced a model for them to be able to pinpoint consumers like that from jump, and then need to make the decision, am I going to give you a loan with a bogusly high interest rate and super poor terms? We call that subprime and super subprime. Or am I just going to flat out deny you? Okay, so that's the answer to that with FICO 10. And this is actually where your scare tactics have come from. You've seen newscasts and media and blogs, etc., who've stated, you know, oh, your scores can drop as much as 20 points. Well, in actuality, if that's not you, then you're not going to see as much of a drop. If you're paying on time, you're keeping your balances low, you don't really have an extreme amount of debt that you're carrying via personal loans and credit card debt, you're not going to be impacted by this much. In fact, you may see an increase of up to 20 points. And keep in mind that they mentioned that upwards of 17% of mortgage lenders who do use this model will love it because they're going to notice a decrease in their basically defaults. They're going to start being able to make loans to people who are less of a risk. Let's put it that way, less of a risk. Now, for those of you who have amassed a lot of debt and you're simply making the minimum payments, you're increasing your debts, and you're doing exactly as I described, your scores will drop. But if you are turning the pattern of time, you're changing those credit behaviors, you're starting to pay down things and pay on time, you're not going to see either much of an impact or you're going to see an increase if you've been doing it for a longer period of time. Now, remember, lenders are not using this version yet, okay? So many may decide that the cost of implementing it is not worth it, or that doesn't quite fit into their business model, and that's okay. They're going to use the older versions. And just to give you a perspective of how all of this works, probably in, I don't know if it's 2016 or 2017, I had my auto FICO score ran. I also had, that was probably in January, February. And then in June-ish, we had the home loan. So I had my mortgage credit score ran. And then I also had the FICO 9 score version provided for me for free. And there was about a 33-point difference between mortgage, which was lower, it's stricter, so the mortgage score was lower. And then it was higher on FICO 8. And then it was kind of almost marginally there on FICO 9. So it wasn't much of a variance with me personally on FICO 9. Now, what does this mean for you? For me, it meant that I was in the excellent and good category. But if you're on the fair and good category, that interest rate variance is a lot of money of how much you're going to pay for your loan. So this is what I want you to focus on. Number one, I don't want you to drive yourself crazy trying to consider what model your lender is using. I used to do that. But then I was like, oh my God, it's just too much. I had to focus on the data and not the score or the scoring model. And I've been preaching this to you guys. I won't even say teaching. I've been preaching this to you guys for quite some time, that behaviors and data is what you want to focus on, because your ultimate goal is not to have a bomb FICO 10s credit score, to have a bomb FICO 8 credit score. You want your credit score to be bomb across all models and future models that are coming, so that you no longer have to be concerned about what your score is going to be on each model, because your behaviors are so bomb, your payment habits are so bomb, your limits are so bomb, and you're not going towards the new shiny credit card, meaning you're not applying for stuff just to apply for stuff. You're very selective, and you're treating your credit with the respect that it deserves, because you know that when you want to begin to leveraging it, whether it's in business, whether it's in home ownership, whether it's investing, whether it's just there so you can not pay as much for even the simple things in life, insurance, cell phones, etc. Okay, that's what I want you guys to focus on. So the habits are still the same across all of the FICO versions. The habits do not change. Pay on time every time. Pay after you get the statement date and before the due date to avoid any issues. Keep your credit card balances extremely low. Do not apply for too much credit all at once. For those of you who are rebuilding, I'm looking at this question. Continue your rebuilding efforts exactly as you've learned inside of my Credit on Fire DIY Credit and Wealth Building School, reducing those balances, disputing errors found, especially on high priority negative items. So definitely continue credit repair. For those of you who may not have reviewed your credit reports and may not think that it's something that you need to do, trust me, there are some errors that we found as small as wrong addresses or any personal data that may be an error that could be like small or it could be major. Like if you find different social security numbers on your credit report, that's major. If you find that like outdated or transposed address, that's not that bad. And then there's accounts that may not be yours, but there's so much indicators of identity theft and just erroneous information. Like for instance, yesterday I reviewed a report from a really on time and perfect payment history on a car loan, and they hadn't updated key areas since 2016. Like, are you kidding me? It's 2020. And so just by updating that information, she's going to see a bigger boost in her score. So stuff like that is important, because number one, when you go into lending, your score is going to decide where you're at. Then they're going to evaluate the data, because a score gets you in, and then the evaluation of the data comes into play. And so if her score barred her from getting this interest rate and instead got her here, just by her making those changes and getting her score and her data to where they belong, she can now save, oh my gosh, even 0.25% can save you some money over time on a loan. So that's important for you to monitor your credit and to really be mindful of errors, no matter how big or small, because those small impacts can make a big difference. So again, Equifax will be implementing this in the summer. Experian and TransUnion will be implementing it probably towards the end of the year, and probably then you'll begin to see lenders come around to it if they decide that it's worth the time investment, money investment, etc. So hopefully I answered all of your questions. I did have some that were inside of the Credit on Fire and Credit Makes Sense community, the free community. Again, I left those links below. And I'll answer those inside of the respective communities. So for Credit on Fire, we have our upcoming monthly credit Q&A. So I'll be hosting that, and I will definitely answer questions on FICO 10. And hopefully we got some hot seats every month inside of Credit on Fire. We host hot seats where we bring people on and answer their credit questions, review their credit reports, etc. So we'll be doing that in February for our monthly Q&A. And inside of Credit Makes Sense, I saw the post where you listed your questions, so I'll be doing a separate video to kind of highlight the questions that did not apply to this particular Credit Makes Sense show. So thank you so much. It's good to always inspire, empower, and educate my partners. And I will see you for the next Credit Makes Sense show. Chat with you soon. Bye.